Welcome back to the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. This is the continuation, part 2 of Avengers Infinity War. Where we left off was Thanos had obtained the Reality Stone on Nowhere, had thwarted some of the Guardians.
Gamora's plan to kill herself.
Yeah. And he has taken Gamora back to his ship, and
Quill is not doing great.
Yeah, no, he's pretty pissed. So let's see. So go back to the compound, back on Earth, and we see that Colonel Rhodes is talking to Thunderbolt Ross about, and then Rhodes is finally like, because, we've seen, this is interesting arc for Rhodes, because throughout all these movies, he's been very much like, taking my orders, patriotism, government structure, yada, yada.
I am simply a gun for the government.
And in this, we see him starting to change, where he's like...
I feel like I've given enough for my country.
Ross is like, I believe your signature was on those accords. And he's like, yeah, I think I paid for that.
Because he was paralyzed.
When do the Accords get disbanded?
She-Hulk.
After,
okay.
So we get, the gang shows up. Gang's all here. Wanda, Vision, Natasha, Sam, Steve, and
Banner.
Ross is, and Banner's in the back. And Ross is like, arrest these fools. And then Rhodes like on it, and then he like swipes the hologram away, and he's like, hey, what's up, guys?
How's it going? How's it been?
Risking a court martial.
I don't like Ross in this situation. Like, the world's about to end, right? There are aliens.
Yeah, he doesn't make the right
door.
play.
And he's like, arrest these men.
They, like Steve says, Earth lost their best defender, and you still want to arrest us? Okay. Yeah, no, it's pretty stupid.
Which was really nice of him. I mean, he said that.
Oh yeah,
that Tony was his best defender.
Right. They don't talk.
Definitely not Thor.
Well, Thor's not really there all the time. He's like gone to do something.
Yeah.
They're not talking. But like they're probably not even friends anymore. But they still have a pretty solid respect for each other. So they talk about how Vision is immediately like, we have to destroy it. We have to destroy the stone. So
Vision has the right idea. Basically,
he
is going to make the sacrifice play.
Cap says, we shouldn't sacrifice lives, and then Vision makes a good spot. Didn't you sacrifice like your own life? Sacrifice your own life. And Banner goes, well, there might be a third option where we could just remove the stone.
Because he's talking about there's a lot more in there than just a stone. There's Tony's mind, there's Banner's mind.
Right.
There's Ultron, Jarvis. The whole thing is they could have done this the entire time.
That's the thing, right? They wanted to save Vision by extracting the stone, because if they just destroy it, obviously we see later it would kill him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like they could have removed the stone years ago. Like they could have done it as soon as Ultron was gone.
Yeah, but what would have been the purpose?
Their whole thing, like at the end of Ultron, was like they don't know what the stone is, they don't know what to do with it, and its safest place is with Vision, who can defend himself with it. He just does a poor job in this movie of doing that.
Whoa!
Half of his ability is gone.
He got stabbed in the back. He got sneak attacked.
Right. But half of his ability disappears every time this one guy comes in the room.
So back on the ship with Tony and Peter, and this is great, because Peter meets Tony, and then Tony's like, what are you doing? He's like, actually, well, with this suit, it's so cool. It's kind of your fault that I'm on. He's like, what'd you just say? And he tells Peter, this is a one-way trip. We're probably not going to make it back. And then Tony's like realizing, like, okay, fine, that down there. How are we dealing with that? And he's like, "You ever seen Alien?"
You ever seen this really old movie?
Yeah. I love how in the fight in Germany where he talks about, "You ever seen this really old movie, Star Wars?" And then Rhodey goes, "Jesus, Tony, how old is this kid?"
He continues to make those references. Like,
yeah, and they work.
We truly see how young he is.
Every time he references a movie, the plan works. So Tony jumps down for like the distraction, and Ma goes, "My abilities far outweigh yours." And Tony goes, "Yeah, but the kids see more movies." So he blasts a hole in the side of the ship, and it sucks Ma out. And like he just with like the coldness of space, he runs out of oxygen. He like is frozen and rip.
Ma's gone.
Ma did, and then Tony seals it up with like this like super
Plasma.
strong like Flex Seal or something like that. I don't know what it is. It's like
the weird thing, he uses the same stuff for his like injuries later.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if it's
multi-purpose.
Technically, Doctor Strange should have died as well. I'm just saying. Yeah, his cape flew after him, and then Peter caught the cape as he's flying out the hole.
And pulled him back in.
He was a good 10, 15 feet outside the ship
but
the
the
entire time.
oxygen from the ship was being pulled out too.
And
so
then
like,
he got
Are we
in
talking
that
about
stream,
the
you could
cold, though?
breathe.
And he got pulled back in. And like we've seen in the Guardians movies, you can last a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that was Peter, and that's when he's still invincible or like immortal.
I'm talking about Gamora.
Yeah, even
guess.
Gamora and Yondu.
But those are aliens. We're talking about a simple human. Now.
Okay.
Like I
I
said,
don't know.
like I said,
Peter pulled
watch
him in fast
the
enough.
movie. He got pulled back in. That's what the movie's saying.
He got pulled in fast enough. It's okay. It's fine. Nobody worry about it.
So where am I?
Peter just pulled Doctor Strange back in.
And he's not too happy because they about blast him out of the ship.
Yeah, they just saved Doctor Strange, and he's just like, okay. So Tony has a plan to fight to Thanos because he's not expecting all of them to be on Titan. So that's kind of his deal. Instead of just trying to run away, keep trying to run away, he wants to try to take him off guard, which is not like the worst plan in the world because I don't, as smart as Thanos is, I don't think he would expect them all to be there.
Right, because in Thanos' mind, Ma only captured this one guy.
Only Strange, yeah.
And just a little bit ago, I was like, does Thanos have like a stone tracker? Like, how does he know he's going to be on? But that's where they were headed anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think Thanos expected to bring back a man because his whole thing is I have never let him down. He's expecting me to have the stone.
Yeah.
And if it's still attached to your body, he's going to be disappointed. So I think he didn't expect anybody else besides Ma.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, makes sense. So back on Thanos' ship, like the big one. So he's talking to Gamora, and like, Gamora, come on now, don't throw the soup. He's trying to give you soup.
You pointed this out, and it stuck with me. She mentions how much she hates his throne.
Oh yeah.
And he doesn't sit on the throne anymore. He sits on the stairs. So he's like, "No, I get you. I'm like your father. I understand you don't like the throne. I won't sit on it anymore."
So he desperately. What's really cool about Brolin's like acting here is he seems like he's the only one that knows this is the right path, and he's desperately trying to explain it to Gamora here. And she's like, "You can't possibly know this is the right way." And he goes, "I'm the only one that knows." And I'm like, it's very fascinating because like, he thinks that, yeah, he's the only one that has this all figured out.
He truly believes that he's like Homelander. He's like, I am smarter, I'm stronger, I'm better.
Without the milk fetish. So Gamora reveals the information because Thanos has Nebula and tortures her, and she can't take hearing her screams.
This was a really cool like camera thing, because when we see Nebula just sitting there, we're like, oh, she's just held in place, and then the camera pans and she is pulled apart.
All of her parts. And yeah, Gamora initially lies, but then Thanos is like, "You're strong." He goes, "You're strong, me. You're hard-willed, me. But lying, I never taught you to lie. That's why you're so bad at it." But yeah, because Nebula, with her like robotic parts, can records what she sees, and yeah. So Gamora tells Thanos where the Soul Stone is. It's on Vormir, and we'll get to that place a little bit later.
I don't think she knows how the Soul Stone works yet. Which
she just knows where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody.
How did she figure that out? That's what I really want to know.
She found the map to where it was.
That's right.
And she burned it.
Yeah, because she just like, and then I imagine she burned it when she was like, met up with the Guardians and was like, I'm going to be a good guy now.
Well, she's always kind of been a good guy. She's always wanted to take down Thanos. The same with Nebula, but Nebula was more whipped into shape.
And she was after the stone, wasn't she? When they first met up.
Yes, the Power Stone.
The Power Stone.
Interesting.
But she always wanted to prevent Thanos from getting it. So,
do you think if he would have started with any other stone, do you think he would have been able to do it? Because the Power Stone made him strong enough to fight certain people in this.
It did damage.
I wonder.
I wonder if
the Soul Stone.
Yeah.
It can kill their soul. Like if you're fighting somebody and you just take their soul, it's gone. They drop to the floor.
I wonder if he probably just chose Xandar because it was like the easiest one to start out with.
Probably.
Because it's just some dudes in a ship. So we cut back to Thor, Groot, and Rocket. They're flying to Nidavellir, and Rocket gives Thor a new eye. He's like, "Oh, I would have watched that."
Yeah, he goes, "I picked it up off the guy."
He's like, "The only way I could sneak it out was up my." And they're like, "Oh, okay, we're here." And yeah, everything's dark. Which Thor thinks is weird because there should be like a dying star. There should be a dying star in the middle of this thing. So they walk around in there, and Rocket goes, "You said Thanos had a gauntlet, right?" Like that one.
Yeah.
So that's how we figure out how Thanos got a gauntlet. And
we then see Peter Dinklage.
Yeah, as
a giant dwarf.
Eitri, I think is his name. And yeah, so Thanos, after they made the gauntlet, killed everyone except for him.
What was his name?
Eitri. And
okay, got it. So Eitri, he said that he would make the gauntlet because he thought that Thanos would then just leave everybody else alive.
Didn't do that.
No, he killed everyone.
Except for
Eitri because his life is his own. But his hands are Thanos's.
Yeah.
So
he put him in
he
melted a
molten metal
around
on his hands.
So like they're just entirely a fist now.
I think even if he broke, like if the metal broke, his hands would still be destroyed. Because
do you think he did that mainly for the reason that he didn't want anybody having the same power he did?
Yeah.
So he didn't want him to prove
Absolutely.
Nobody else to have a weapon to wield. Because, I mean, as far as we know in this universe, this is the only place where they can make a weapon to wield the Infinity Stones. So that's concerning news. Because how we gonna make the weapon now? So yeah, the plan is to open up the dying star with the help of, as Thor calls him, Rabbit. What does Rocket do with the ship? He like pulls something with like a tether on the ship.
So Thor swings the ship around to get extra speed on it.
Yeah.
And then he slings it as he crushes his feet into what I think it's like
one of the rings.
Yes. Like a magnifier.
And the ship
something that would magnify the heat from the dying star.
And Rocket ship like opened it up.
Yes.
So, but it has to be held open for a couple minutes. And so
the piece breaks off.
And then so Thor goes, well, he's like, that much power could kill you, Thor. And he goes, only if I die. And he goes, yes, that's what killing you means.
This was interesting because, like, in a lot of cultures, damage to your back is like a sense of like cowardice. Because Thor, he opens it and all of the sun radiation goes to his back, which is like,
I don't know if I'm thinking cowardice when he's taking the heat of a dying star.
Right, but like he would have been cooler if he would have looked at it as it was.
You do that next time. You do that next time, right? You stare into the face of a dying star.
But I do get that, like, you're turning your back to a fight kind of situation and you're taking the damage.
Okay.
I wonder if it, like,
yeah, but probably not in this situation, I guess.
I don't know if it relates to Norse, though. Do you know if it's in Norse, like, mythology and stuff?
I don't think so.
Right.
So he holds it. You can see the burns on his like the burns
body
that slowly start to form on Thor's arms and like his neck and stuff like that. And
it's really cool. He hits like a flex pose.
Yeah, dude. So the heat reaches the metal and it because this is like the only heat that can like melt whatever like material this is. They do say it's the same metal that made Mjolnir, which is pretty cool.
Meaning it could work with lightning.
True. So they melt it into the cast. Eitri breaks the cast, and like Thor, like that's all he could do. He like loses the grip, and like the beam kind of like sends him into the room, and he like falls onto the floor, like near death.
Yeah.
And Eitri is like
he needs the hammer.
He needs like he says he needs the hammer. He needs the hammer.
They can't find the handle.
The handle. He's like, where? Like, I just had it. Where is it? It was right here. So the assist from Groot, like he forms like
teenage Groot.
He forms like he smacks the two sides together, and he before he like gives a handle, and like he chops his
own arm off,
and then you slowly see like Thor's like hand begin to raise, and like sparks come out of it, and I was like, ooh,
it's really, really cool.
Oh, and detail, Eitri said in theory it could summon the Bifrost.
This is a god-killing axe.
Oh, yeah.
In
it's a weapon made for a king.
Stormbreaker in the comics is like, the abilities that it can do is, it's pretty BA.
Which is kind of why I'm confused by future movies.
What?
If there are any.
What?
But like, so this is an axe made for a king.
Yes.
This is the strongest weapon they have ever created.
So far.
No.
So far.
Really? Is that what he said? I thought that he said that this was the strongest weapon he'd ever like thought of or whatever.
I guarantee there's going to be stronger weapons that come in the MCU.
Well, he can't really make any more weapons, though.
Bruh.
He can't design them.
All he can do is like, what he did in that is like literally smash the mold. That's all he can do.
Yeah, he can't make more molds. He can't design.
He knows
every
everything.
Weapon he's ever made is in his head.
Everybody else is dead. So
yep.
So back on Titan, Stark and Peter don't know how to fly this thing. They crash into the planet. But as they crash, Peter, in the most like teenager way possible, the dumbest way possible, tells that like he's like I just want to say if eggs if
eggs pop out of my chest.
He's like, I want to know it's like nothing personal. And then Tony goes, I don't want another single pop culture reference out of you for the rest of the trip. He's like, what I'm trying to say is somebody's coming. The Guardians show up. And dude, they hold their own against Doctor Strange and like I love Peter's laugh when he like attaches the magnet to Stark and that like
but then Stark gets his boot onto Drax's chest
and like opens up a gun, and then like Peter has a gun pointed to Peter's
and Quill has a gun pointed at
Peter has a gun pointed to Peter's head. And then Stark goes, fine, you shoot my guy, I'll shoot your guy. And then Drax goes, don't worry, Quill, I can take it. And he goes, no, you can't.
No, you can't. And then he goes, the good lines.
Yeah. Peter goes, I'm going to ask you this once. Where is Gamora? And then Stark goes, I'll do you one better. Who is Gamora? Drax goes,
underneath Stark.
I'll do you one better. Why is Gamora? Dude, there are so many lines.
What master do you serve?
Yes.
Am I supposed to say Jesus?
You're from Earth? Well, no,
I'm from Missouri. Yeah, that's on Earth. There's so many like great quips and like humor in this movie. It's amazing. Well, that like I remember in my theater, like everybody just like dying laughing in all these lines.
They hit. They're good lines.
All the jokes, yeah. All the jokes hit.
Every single joke that they've made in this movie have hit.
So yeah, Tony's plan as they're breaking it down on Titan. Drax is yawning.
You just yawn while I'm trying to tell you the plan?
So they kind of got this surprise attack kind of figured out.
Well, we really get to see like, because Peter Quill
is like
has been giving the plans to the Guardians this entire time.
Mm.
And as soon as Stark tries to do it, they're like, listen, they don't really go with the plan. It's more of like a wing it and go with that.
Don't call us Bucky. We don't know what it means. He's like, yeah, your plan's really good, except that it sucks, and I have a better plan. Yeah, and Quill has 50% equaling 100%, and Tony's like, you're blowing my mind. No, it doesn't. No,
yes, it does.
No, I'm just going to skip it, Riley, because
I would like to talk about this.
No, hush, we're moving on, because you're wrong. 50% does not equal 100%.
50% of Peter is human, and he's saying that 50% is stupid. 100% of Stark is human.
What Tony says is 50% does not equal 100%, which is obviously true.
That is true.
And if you can't get past that, then I don't know what to tell you. Don't be a teacher, maybe.
We're talking about genetics.
That also doesn't apply.
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it is.
For the words that came out of his head.
God, you guys are so stupid.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. Okay. Moving on.
All right. During this, Peter Quill goes, what's going on with your buddy?
You got it. Here you go.
Because then Doctor Strange starts tweaking. He starts like, his head's like jerking around, and what's happening is he's seeing through timelines, right? Is it timelines or is it realities?
It's future realities.
I don't know. It's probably timelines, right? Because it's the time stone.
I don't know. You go for it. Keep going. You got this now.
Okay, thanks. So, Doctor Strange then talks to Peter and Quill. Peter Quill and...
Peter Parker.
There's so many Peters.
There's two. There's two Peters.
Right. He does, right?
Mainly Iron Man, but yes.
Right. And he's like, I've looked through...
14,651.
And we only win one. And I'm like, whatever.
There's no possible way that they only win one time.
Out of all, like the only reason he says that is because it was like the play that he was there, and I think like what happens a little later in his own movie, Christina hits it right on the head. You are the one that has to like wield the knife. You're the one that has to perform the action, and there's just no other way. Like everything else, no, you have to do it, which is very similar to Tony Stark. Like you're the one that has to do the thing that saves everybody else. Like it can't be, a scenario where like you sacrifice yourself. God forbid that. You have to, you're the one that has to cut. No.
No, I agree with you 100%, right? Like, if any of those situations led to his death, he obviously doesn't want to pick that solution. But
I guess Tony already did it twice.
Right. That's like that's the real difference between the two of them.
Dude flew a nuke into a wormhole.
One would make the sacrifice play. The other has to lead the sacrifice play.
He's the one that has to
He's the one who gets to choose. Really, is what happens.
He's the one that has to do the action. He's the one that has to be the hero instead of like, because he thinks he's the only one that can make the decision, which is like a whole different level of arrogant for.
Yeah.
What I also mentioned to you guys last night, though, like from the other movie, like the Sorcerer Supreme, she couldn't see past a certain point in the timeline,
The
no matter
Infinite
what.
Lady. Yeah.
Yeah, that's her name.
Because she died at that point in time.
Right.
So therefore, there could be possibly more outcomes where we actually do win, but he could not physically see him because he died in the process.
I would so much prefer him dying over the person that actually does.
I wonder if he even saw past all of the movies. Like if he saw this is the one timeline where we continue to win.
I also wonder how old Doctor Strange's brain is now.
What do you mean?
Because he had to go through so many different timelines where he saw his friends die over and over and over again, 14 million different times. So I wonder how much strain that put on his mind and his brain. Like,
that's a good point.
How much? I don't know if it aged or how much strain it put on him.
Even and Dormammu.
Yeah, he
how many
died quite a few
times? Dude.
How many times did he die? Yeah. And what does that do to you?
Yeah.
So,
but that is a good question, right? I don't know if he would have gone past because he had to go through 14 million of them. That kind of take quite a bit.
Yeah, because if there was only one where they continued to win, that would make sense why he would choose that one.
Just the one.
I almost wonder why they just didn't go back in time right now. Because he has the time stone.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point.
Because it's messing with the
space time.
Like he cares. He did it in his first movie.
Yeah, because that was like last ditch effort to save the world, right? But this is like they can actually stop this one guy.
They choose to fight, which is ridiculous.
What do they call that in the first movie? Like the balance of something in nature.
Oh, what does Wong say?
It ripped the space-time continuum.
But it's
the natural order.
Yeah,
yeah. Where do we go? Oh, so we're on Vormir.
Yes.
And this is where things really get fun. Where we meet Red Skull and we see where he went after he touched the Tesseract and he got shot into space. This is where he is. He's guarding a thing that he cannot possess. Which that's a pretty cool punishment. Yeah. Like you thought you were arrogant enough to wield one of us. Nah, you're gonna be here and you're gonna be next to one of ours, but you'll never get it.
I think the reason he'll never get it is because he never had a loved one.
That's true.
He never loved anything other than power.
That is true. He cannot physically obtain that one, but also he's damned there for what, eternity?
Eternity.
Yeah. So he's never going to die. So something physically changed him as well in that process.
That's
right, because he was just a dude. And, I guess he wasn't
just a dude with a red face.
He wasn't just a dude. He had the serum.
Yeah.
Just like a whacked version of the serum. But yeah, he's like a ghost now, basically.
Did you know they changed actors for the Red Skull?
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer.
It's the dude from The Walking Dead.
Ross Marquand.
Yeah.
I do not know that.
I don't know.
I don't know a lot of things though.
So Thanos begins to cry because you have to sacrifice someone you love. And so
starts to laugh.
Yeah, she laughs because you don't love anybody. And then Red Skull goes, the tears aren't for him. And she goes to stab herself, which is like, oh my, can we stop and talk about that for a second? Like she thinks her last way out is to kill herself. And I was like, oh my God, Marvel.
That is truly the thing. Like at any time before he got the time stone, she could have died, and then he loves nobody. Because the next person would have been Nebula.
And he did not.
And he didn't love her. He replaced her with robot parts because she kept losing.
Doesn't love Gamora.
If we're talking about what ifs along this way, right? She had that knife the entire time.
Yeah.
She could have done it at any point.
At any point.
But here's why she didn't. Because he immediately turns it into bubbles when she tries to stab herself.
Right.
So it wouldn't have mattered if she would have did it at any point because it would have just been bubbles. Grabs her, says, "I'm sorry, little one," and then yeets her off and I'm like, wow. And so he goes into the reflecting pool, and he has the soul stone. And
it's sad. It is so sad.
So he has
4.
He has 4
out of 6.
Uh-oh. So
it looks like it's about time.
So then we're talking about, a place with, the right technology, advanced technology to maybe separate the stone from vision. Well, obviously we got to go to Wakanda.
It's not about time. It's about the Mind Stone now. Sorry.
It's so cool to hear the music again, to see T'Challa.
Yeah, this is like truly. It's an after, pretty much a civil war in Wakanda.
Yeah, and I guess this at the same time this is happening. This is when the mold is being broken on Nidavellir, and Thor's reaching for the. But yeah, so they put Vision in Shuri's lab, and she's doing sciencey things to
starting to
remove the stone, and
she goes, "Why didn't you guys just have them be 2 totally different circuits? Why is it all one thing?"
It's a million different crossing wires and stuff
because we didn't think of it. She
shows time and time again that she is truly a genius.
Oh yeah.
In their defense, they didn't start making the body until after it was basically formed, right? It's just whether or not they put Jarvis into it.
Yeah.
I think that also sums up a lot of things, right? Where it's we can say from the outside of a movie, why didn't they just do this? The characters didn't think of it, and that's all you got. That's all you know.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to, it's easy to judge an action after it's already done.
It's hindsight, right? Hindsight's 2020.
So as they're doing that, ships land. Well, one land is going to go directly in the city of Wakanda, but force field, heck yeah, it explodes. But then 3 other ships land on the outside of the force field, and this is got the name of the Battle of Wakanda, which is pretty sick.
That's a pretty cool name.
So you see Steve, Natasha. I don't know if there's anybody else. Maybe Bruce walks
fighting.
Well, this is walks up to the portal, and you see Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive. They're there, and T'Challa's there too, and he tells them, he's like, all Thanos will get is dust and blood, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, it's not Corvus Glaive, it's Cole.
Cole Obsidian's there. Yeah, true. So the battle commences. They release these hounds that have 6 arms, they're just gnawing at anything they can get their mouths on. I don't know what their name.
Rabid.
Yes, and I don't know what their names are in the comics, but they're some of the hardest things to kill as far as minions go. And
they're almost like the things that were dropped in New York, except. More
the Chitauri.
Yeah.
No, these things are mindless. They're they have one purpose, and you can see that where they kill themselves to go through the portal.
Outriders?
Yes, that's what it is.
Cool.
Yeah. I think, usually for example, the Chitauri, they're just kind of mindless, drones that kind of are just an army. These things actually kind of get a little story to them. Their whole purpose is to. They don't care if they kill themselves.
They're just going to get to them.
They just want to gnaw ya, num.
What's funny? Their aliases are called those things.
Those things.
Those things.
As space dogs and aliens.
Those things. They scare me. So the beasties start to go around the portal.
Yeah.
To try to get to the back of where the lab is, where Shuri is.
Some of them are getting through.
Yeah.
Badly burnt, but they're getting through.
And Rhodey and Sam are kind of cleaning those up. But
they realize if they do this everywhere, Wakanda will surely fall.
Because the whole thing is So like Shuri's behind them and they're going around. So people say it's dumb. I think this is like their only option, to open up the portal in front of them to fight them head on, because the whole point is they're guarding Vision and like, yeah, keep the fight in front of them. So they open up a sliver and they
Section 15.
something like that. The king knows.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And M'Baku there, the border tribe is there. All of Wakanda's
the warrior women.
Yeah,
I can't think of what they're called. I want to say Chitauri, but that we just talked about that.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're all of Wakanda's soldiers are there, plus Banner in the Hulkbuster armor. Steve, M'Baku.
We didn't mention it. So earlier when Banner was trying to get Hulk out, Hulk just straight up said no. He came out and said absolutely not.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to take his first loss.
That and he'd been trapped for so long. Well, not trapped, but he had been Hulk for.
See, I don't know if he wants to come out though. I think he's scared.
Yeah.
Well, he also had this problem in like Thor Ragnarok. Like he wasn't really coming out either on command.
Yeah.
That's why he jumped onto the Rainbow Bridge and smacked.
Yeah, because the only way. Yeah, because the Hulk won't let him die.
Mm-hmm.
So they open up the portal, fight straight on. They're getting overrun. They're getting overpowered. Like Banner gets swarmed by them, and Steve is having trouble. So is
big
T'Challa.
Buzzsaws coming.
Yeah. The buzzsaws come underneath underground, so like negates the portal altogether. And so that's having trouble. But then this is when, two of the strongest Avengers finally join the fight. Wanda gets in there and she starts throwing it down, throwing all those buzzsaw things around and killing the Outriders. And then Thor shows up and like starts to clean house and like really really turns the tide.
When he shows up, the axe is on fire. With like blue flame on fire. That is the coolest anybody has ever looked in the MCU.
And his eyes are like going like total Raiden, and he's everything that's remotely like close to him is getting shocked with like all this thunderbolt, and he meets up with Steve. And Steve always the polite one when he's like, I am Groot, and he goes, I am Steve Rogers.
Like you to meet my tree friend.
It kind of
he calls him a tree.
An important thing here. When Wanda finally joins the fight, that's what they were waiting for the entire time.
They wanted to get rid of Wanda.
Which the person we talked about earlier,
Corvus Glaive.
Corvus Glaive was actually hiding inside the entire time.
Pretty smart.
It's kind of weird that the robot didn't notice her.
The robot?
Vision. Why didn't he like sense that Glaive was even in the room?
Well, I could give you two. Answers to that one. Like you said, two, he doesn't have all. Well, one, he doesn't have all his powers. Like
two,
you
he's
said.
a robot.
Two, he's also being worked on from Shuri right now, so he's a little preoccupied with somebody messing with the stone in his forehead.
You know what? I believe you.
So, and then there's like 3 guards there. They try.
Yeah.
And then even Shuri, what are you doing?
Hits him with like the repulsor thing.
And then she gets knocked out. And then Corvus Glaive and Vision get knocked out the window, and they fall like, I don't know, 2 or 3 stories. They land on the ground, and Corvus Glaive kind of has a cool line though. He's like he says something like, "You're a machine, but you're dying like any man." And I was like, oh.
Wow.
Steve comes like, he comes running in and like is fighting Corvus, and
he tells Vision to get out of here.
Yeah, to run, get out.
Vision says the line back to him, doesn't he?
Yeah, he stabs.
We don't trade lives.
Stabs him through the chest and kills Corvus with his own blade. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Then we go back to Titan,
yes.
Don't we? Sick.
Thanos shows up.
This is one of the best, like, this whole fight scene here, one of the best fights.
The 2 fights are, going back and forth between the 2 fights are so cool. He shows up, and Thanos sees Strange, and
Sitting on
Thanos
the
is like,
stairs.
okay, well, the Maw's dead. So
He then uses the Reality Stone to show him what it was like.
yeah,
And kind of give us a reason why he's doing all of this.
right.
Saying that his planet was on the brink of extinction because everybody was running out of food and there was no place for people to give birth anymore.
And because like he was right about this one planet, he was like, well, this must be the case for the entire universe. So yeah, they're talking back and forth about like their different like I guess philosophies and like why you're wrong and why I'm right, yada yada. And Strange goes, well, I think our resolve is equal to yours. And Thanos goes, our? And then he gets a I don't know, is it part of one of the ships that are on Titan? Tony like rocket boosts down and like smashes Thanos with the ship.
Do you think if he didn't say our, it could have been like it would have been a better fight? Like they would have had a better chance? Or
I doubt it because the whole thing was to smash him with the ship anyway, and that's what they did.
Right, but he wasn't aware that was happening.
He would be aware once he got hit with something. So either way, he would have realized.
And he would have turned it into butterflies, like what he did.
Yes.
Okay. So they get super close. They get so close. I love the they get to show off all their different
everybody's abilities and all of the stuff that they've been working on.
The Peter Quill attaches like a bomb to his back and flips him off as he goes through a portal. And in that moment, Strange is like, opening up the portals, which is pretty cool. And like Peter Parker is like magic with the kick, and like he's going through the portal. And then, he gets clotheslined by Thanos, which is like, ow.
You didn't see it coming with his spidey sense?
No, because that's not how it works.
How does it work?
Anything that Peter's not remotely aware of,
that's
like a danger to him. Spidey sense doesn't work if he sees the threat coming at him in front of him. It's only for things that like
when the Guardians showed up.
Yeah.
With hostile intent.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Something that's gonna harm him that he isn't like he can't see.
So when he closes his eyes, he can still dodge punches, but
or in the astral form.
Cool.
So Drax like stabs his leg, pulls him to the ground. Strange like whips him and pulls his arm back. Quill throws like a magnetic thing that like also pulls that same arm down. Mantis jumps on top of him and she gets to show off her cool ability where she like, I guess she doesn't really put him to sleep, but like he's in like kind of like a state of like limbo ish. Like he's kind of in between like conscious and unconscious.
And it's because he's just too powerful, right? His mind's too strong.
Yeah. He's a Titan.
Except she could, I guess Ego was trying to go to sleep.
Right.
I was going to say, she could put Ego to sleep.
He could let her.
He wanted to go to sleep.
And then Peter Parker and Tony Stark have a hold of the arm with the gauntlet. And Peter lands, and it's so tough because Peter Quill's done this before where he's done rash actions because of his emotions overtake him. Like when his mother died, he, shoved his family away and ran outside. Or when his father told him that he put a tumor in his mom's head, he just blasted him with his guns. So like this is totally within character for Peter to do this. It's just frustrating because they were so close. He was like, "No, my Gamora." It's like, "No," and then Thanos goes, "I had to," and he goes, "No, you didn't." And like he's like holding back tears as he smacks Thanos in the face with his gun.
Nebula just needed to keep her mouth shut, by the way. He had no idea what happened to Nebula. He's just sad. Or not Nebula, Gamora.
Right.
But she's like, yeah, he came back. She didn't. She's dead. I'm like, you didn't need to say that.
Well, really, Mantis could have just kept her mouth shut instead of being, he feels remorse.
Oh, true. I wonder if, I don't know. Because she seems to say that a lot, right?
Like maybe
I wonder if she has
the emotions are so powerful that
she
has to mention.
Yeah, I wonder if that's part of her abilities that she
comes
has to say what the emotions are. I don't know. Maybe. anyways, Thanos comes back to consciousness.
Dude, they get it all the way to off of his hand.
He gets
and
on the fingers.
Catches it.
He knocks everybody away. Most of them are unconscious, and that's Peter is like, I got you, I got you, I got you. And
Don't worry about it. I got it.
He's webbing people up. Strange.
As a spider would,
Yes.
And it was only the Guardians that got knocked out.
Yes, Drax, Mantis, and Peter. Strange tries to show off some cool abilities. Dude, he throws the mirror dimension at Thanos, and he punches and shatters the mirror dimension. I'm like, I didn't know you could do that.
Then throws it back at him as a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're throwing black holes at each other. That is, and then he, you see him you see all of him light up, and you see a moon in the background, and you're like, nah. Dude, he throws a moon at Tony Stark.
Which is kind of payback for crushing him with a ship, but it's kind of overboard,
Yeah.
And so Tony's, occupied with dodging chunks of the moon, but he eventually gets hit by a chunk. So, and then Strange and he tries to separate himself into a bunch of those different forms and whip them.
You said it was straight out of the comics.
Yeah, there's a scene in the I don't know if it's just when he's fighting Thanos, but there's a scene in the comics where he separates himself into the only thing with that is it's kind of like, in an anime where you separate yourself, you become become incredibly weaker.
Yeah.
Every time you separate yourself. So with a flash of the Power Stone, Thanos wipes them all out except for the real Strange, and then grabs him, and he goes for the
amulet.
The amulet, but yeah, the spell's not there because the stone's not there.
I wonder.
He throws.
And then he throws them away. He doesn't want it.
If the spell was there, what would have happened? Would Thanos have never been able to get it?
It would have been a way because like Strange said earlier when he was talking to Ma, hey, it's kind of hard to get around a dead man spell, huh? But it's not impossible, right? And so that's why he
said it was quite. It's a very simple spell, but it's quite unbreakable.
Didn't Ma said I'll just remove it from your corpse?
Yeah.
So
maybe he had to be alive in order for it to even work.
Maybe
so Thanos just would have killed him.
It's called a dead man spell, so I'm assuming it still works while you're dead.
Yeah.
I wonder if he would have if Thanos would have just blasted the amulet with all the Infinity Stones.
He probably would have.
Anyways, so he gets frustrated and throws Strange away, and then a blast comes in, and Tony's like, "You throw another moon at me, and I'm gonna lose it."
And he does a bombing run on him.
And this is a pretty cool thing that how similar Thanos and Tony are. They're both cursed with knowledge about how they both think that they have this purpose that they can't put to rest, and
how they need to save everyone.
Yeah. So Tony's the last line of defense, and it's pretty cool that some of the abilities we get to see with this nanotech armor. He's firing a bunch of missiles at him. He has a shield up that blocks a beam from the Power Stone.
He gets things that pop out of his back, extra lasers, and
yeah,
it's really cool.
Thanos unfortunately closes the distance and initially rips off his helmet, but the nanotech covers it back up.
You mentioned the Deadpool, the helmet underneath the helmet.
If he would have had another mask.
But Tony is kind of kicking his butt.
He throws a lot at him, and then he's like, all that for a drop of blood, and if it bleeds, you can kill it. But unfortunately, he starts to run out of nanotech because he's just getting shredded up by blasts from getting knocked around, and also getting blasts
just straight up being ripped apart.
Yeah, and so last ditch effort, Tony forms a blade with the nanotech. Thanos just grabs it, snaps it, and stabs Tony. And I'm like, oh god,
Tony's gonna die.
Yeah, he starts to cough up blood a little bit, and he sits down, and Thanos, he's like, you've earned my respect, Stark. He's like,
I only hope that others will remember you.
Yeah, when half of humanity's gone, they will remember your name. and he's about ready to blast him with all three.
You said that all 4 stones that he had were lit up.
So I think he uses the Space Stone to disperse Tony's body in a place where nobody would find it, like the remnants. So Strange couldn't use like the Time Stone to like bring his body back to where it was. I think he's using the Power Stone to actually eviscerate the body. I think he uses the Soul Stone to revert, or, to get rid of Tony in the afterlife, so he couldn't be brought back that way.
And the Reality Stone to...
I don't know what the Reality Stone was for.
I'd imagine it'd be to turn
Erase his
whatever was
image.
left. Yeah. It would change the reality that others see him as or something.
So he's like completely gone.
Just body if it was found.
Absolutely
Destroyed. Tony Stark. But, however, the
wizard.
Pretty cool hiding place. He hides the stone within the stars.
Which I never knew that until you mentioned that.
It's a pretty good hiding place to make it, look like how it,
some sleight of hand
to change its image so like you don't know where it is. He gives it to Thanos and he leaves, and Tony's like, why'd you do that? And then we go back to Wakanda.
Which, I do want to mention one thing about that whole situation. On the ride over to that planet, he goes, I will let every single one of you die if it comes down to protecting the stone or you.
Yeah, so what's the deal here, Doctor Strange? What's change of heart?
Does he go, it's the only way? Or something
Not yet.
like okay.
So he gets the Time Stone. I would say like the essence, the mood on Wakanda changes. Like something real ominous starts to come over.
Vision gets a really bad headache.
Yeah, like Mommy Wanda, my head hurts.
My head
really bad.
really hurts.
And like there's no music, no like sound at all. It's just the breeze and like the sense of like all the characters are like, hey,
get to Vision now. Everybody rendezvous on Vision.
What's coming? Something's coming.
Well, at this point too, everybody actually started withdrawing, like all the enemies trying to leave
because they know.
Yeah.
They know what's coming.
Yeah, they know.
Thanos shows up with the Space Stone, and they're like, "Yeah, that's the guy." So they all rush him, and it goes about.
We missed it.
What?
Doctor Strange goes, "You're much more of a Thanos."
Yeah.
When Thanos shows up on
because they've been battling his children.
Sorry,
but they know he's the leader.
Sorry, back on Wakanda.
They attack Thanos, and it goes about how you would expect. Everybody gets wrecked. Rhodey, his suit just gets like crunched and like thrown to the side.
Yeah, he's using all of the stones like in
different ways.
Yeah.
Well, for Groot, he doesn't use it. He just like.
Yeah.
Like he just like flexes and like the roots just get like
crunched.
Banner ends up in a side of a cliff.
Yeah. Steve, like, people thought like the power scaling was like weird because like Steve grabbed his hand, and I'm like, it was taking all of Steve's strength just to hold Thanos' hand, and like he wasn't using any of the stones, and he gets punched and knocked out anyway. Yeah. And gets to Wanda. Wanda decides that she has to destroy the stone. So as she's destroying one Infinity Stone, she is holding back like Thanos.
5.
Yeah.
5 other ones.
And so like super strong.
He's using the Power and Space Stone. So he's using Space Stone to keep his space, imagine, and then the Power Stone to continue to push forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not like he's completely being held back. He's like slowly making his ground towards her. But she destroys it. She destroys Vision's stone. And she falls to the ground like in tears, and Thanos goes, now's not the time for mourning.
She goes, what?
And yeah, he reverses with the time stone. I was like, oh no. And he knocks her away, and he just picks up Vision, and with like it's the hand that it's his regular hand, right?
Yeah.
Not the hand with the glove.
Right.
He just yoink. And
he crushes vibranium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
His
it's
fingers.
nothing.
I've seen many memes based on that. Like the kid from the Haunted House movie. What's the one with like the house that comes alive?
Yeah, it's haunted house.
Okay. And like the kid like grabs something and puts it in his mouth and goes like it eats it. Just because how easily he crunched the dude's skull.
So
Wanda watches Vision die twice.
He gets all the stones, and you can see like the energy that surges within Thanos once he has all the stones. It's almost like it was a little bit of a struggle for him to even like have the power of all the stones, but he has them all now. But then there's an axe that's flying through the air, and it's like headed straight for Thanos, and he shoots a beam with all of the Infinity Stones, and the axe just goes right through that beam like butter and smacks into like
His chest.
and like does a deep wound on.
And Thor goes,
and Thor lands.
I told you you'd regret that.
And yeah, he's like, you'll die for that. And Thanos goes, you should have gone for the head, and does the snap, and half the universe
Thanos won. I mean,
half the universe gets dusted. I should have wrote down who we all see get dusted, but it's a lot of the newer people.
It's
Bucky,
Peter Parker,
Falcon, Peter Parker,
all of the Guardians, except for Nebula,
except for Rocket and Nebula.
Doctor Strange,
Black Panther, literally everybody on Titan except for Nebula
and
Tony.
Yeah.
A lot of the new
people that are
guard
left are the original
Avengers.
Thank you, and Rocket,
Nebula. Yeah, even Groot got dusted away.
Got turned away. Those are the only two left, right? Well,
for the
Shuri disappears.
I don't know if she got dusted or not.
They don't really show her because after like the whole lab scene, we don't see her again.
Yeah,
and like we know from this after credit scene, Hank Pym, Hope, and
actually, it wasn't in this movie. It was in
the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, but so we
know
talked
what
about it. But
we know what happens. They get dusted, leaving Scott in the quantum realm. Yeah, and then this movie kind of ends with on Wakanda with like it kind of shows Steve with like the amount of distress on his face. He was like, "Oh, we just lost."
Yeah,
and Thanos will return.
Well, the end credit scene for this movie was the intro introducing Captain Marvel.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was
with
Fury, like getting out of the car.
Agent Hill and
Nick
calling
Fury.
him Nick.
See, that is weird. They're already calling him Nick, meaning that either Agent Hill is a Skrull.
I think they're both Skrulls.
I'm pretty sure we do get a scene with both of them
know.
being Skrulls, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's in a later movie.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think they're already Skrulls at this point. Because like you said, nobody calls him Nick. It's only Fury.
the end of the movie is the blinking of Captain Marvel, because in the true timeline of how these came out in the years,
She wasn't
Captain Marvel came out after this.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't know who that. Yeah, we didn't know what that signal meant initially.
Yeah.
Until her movie came out.
But
We also missed that last scene with Thanos after he leaves.
Oh, he
true.
he sits on a farm with the sun setting on a grateful universe, like you said earlier in the movie.
Which
Why
wasn't
couldn't he
so
be
great.
one of the half?
Yeah, why? Why? Is it just because he's the last of his kind, so therefore
Well,
you can't divide one?
he's the one who did it. He's the one who did it. So-
Exactly. So it wouldn't be much of a plan if he snapped himself away. He wanted to see the fruition of his plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then goes blank.
That
And
was
it
Infinity
says
War.
and it says Thanos will return. And I was like, he will?
Really?
Yeah, so that's Avengers Infinity War. 10 out of 10, easily.
Absolutely.
From the action, how it looks, the CGI, from the jokes that always hit. all the character interactions.
The music.
There's so many characters in this movie, and none of them feel cheated. Like, they all get their stuff. And
the only one that might be cheated... No, because I guess Drax had his funny moments, too. Like, the completely standing still. Like, I've been standing so completely still.
If you want to count Sherry, because she's in it for very, very short.
That's true.
But she wasn't too important in this movie, really.
Right.
She didn't do her job.
Yeah, she didn't even do the one thing she was
one
supposed
job.
to do. She took her sweet time. Yeah, all the action was amazing. The characters were amazing. And I think it shows so much continuity with all the characters, like backgrounds in their own movies. For example, like the scars that are still on Doctor Strange's hands that you can still see.
Do you think that's why they got rid of the gloves?
So you can still see him, probably.
They did give us the look in Thor Ragnarok, so
they did.
And then went quickly away from it.
He immediately disappeared.
So you can't say that they didn't give us the comic book look. But yeah, I think this is also a really good subversion of expectations as well. Because, like, they've lost before against Ultron. They lost a battle in Ultron. They lost everything in this one. Like, this is the first time that every single superhero lost.
Another thing is, right after Thanos snapped, he went to that reflection pool again with Gamora.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes,
was it worth it?
Was it worth it? Or what did it cost?
Oh, everything.
Everything. Which is like, oh my goodness.
I agree. And also, like, with this whole, like, this one in particular, I think they stepped up their animation game.
Yeah.
Because this was a big movie. Like, we've never had a movie like this before. We've never had a loss like this before. It was very important. This was
box office hits.
And like we talked about earlier about villains, Thanos is the villain. He's the best villain so far, from how, like, not only his stature, like how big he is and how intimidating he is physically, but I think also an underrated thing of Thanos is he's honest. So, like, everything he says, guarantee that's a promise that he's going to do. And also, I think it's cool because he's also layered, like how he cares for Gamora, and also he doesn't kill people that he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Like, he will, obviously, if they're in the way of his goal, he'll easily waste them. But, like with Tony, he could have killed him right there, but he didn't have to, so he didn't.
Oh, he was bribed in that situation too.
Right.
Yeah.
He could have done a lot of things, but I think also it works as his own movie because, like, this is Thanos' movie.
Yes. Without it, he is the main character of this movie.
Oh yeah. This is about his journey to get the stones, and I think it's also the expectations, right? Because we've seen Thanos be built up in these after credit scenes throughout all the other movies, so they had to nail it in this one, and they did.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's, like, really the only villain that has succeeded.
Yeah.
Like, sure, like in Civil War, he succeeded.
I would argue.
Zemo?
Oh yeah, I would argue that's the only other villain that argued, because that movie had stakes, and I think Zemo's separation of the Avengers was a big reason why they lost in this one.
Well, because he also knew what everyone else has failed is try to fight them, right? So
all of them.
He avoided that entirely.
Right.
So you said 10 out of 10?
Oh yeah, easily.
I think this is one of the 4 or 5 10 out of 10s I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I'll agree. This is a 10 out of 10. It was on top, like, box office for a reason.
Oh
yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So, well, that is the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you next time.